Good evening. It is 6:05 live from the Talk Radio studio. This is Talk TV with me, Rob Rinder, and we're jumping over the pond as we do each week for our postcards from the States with Prof. JC, Professor John Christopher Buer, White House correspondent at Real Political News. Boy, Prof. JC, what a week it has been. I've been following the January 6th hearings. Nobody knew that the assistant to Mark Meadows, the then chief of staff, was going to be such a bonanza moment for that committee. I have to say, everybody seems to have been shocked watching it, despite the subsequent denials of the things that she said by ex-President Trump. What does this mean for the January 6th hearing?
Well, she certainly proved grace under pressure. She was elegant, eloquent, and poised, and she downloaded a lot of information about Donald Trump, which, Rob, in my view, proved that he knew about this insurrection way in advance. He knew that individuals out on the South Lawn and going all the way up to the Washington Monument, which you know is about a half a mile, were loaded with ammunition. They had AR-15s. She conveyed this to the people inside the White House, that Trump knew about it. He invited them down, literally telling them to, in a way, forget about the mags. Come on, I want a good shot for the TVs. He was very disappointed by the coverage of his inaugural, which he said, and Sean Spicer, I was there at the briefing room, said it was the biggest crowd ever. You know, it was the biggest crowd ever to see inauguration. You might as well said it was bigger than Hitler's Nuremberg rallies or JFK's speech in Berlin. And it wasn't true. And you could see what a crazy concept this guy has, out of control. And he wanted to go to the Capitol. He said to those people, we're going to march to the Capitol. And he tried to go, and supposedly he tried to force the driver of his car to go there. That's disputable.
Well, I was going to, because that's been disputed by sources at the, just to be clear to our listeners, amongst other claims. And just to be clear, Cassidy Hutchinson didn't say that she had seen it herself. It was hearsay had been reported to her. That at one stage, she said that she had heard that the president had actually grabbed the steering wheel and got into a fracas with the Secret Service agents. That appears to be denied by the Secret Service and has been reported.
Well, they haven't denied it under oath, and we'll have to see what the next hearing and what that comes, because she said it under oath. She said what she heard under oath, and the individuals in the car did not. So they're cowardly. She is not. She showed that her true sense of loyalty and patriotism on this very interesting 4th of July weekend. And the other one who evolved also was Liz Cheney, who, as a Republican and a conservative, she came out and said to the young ladies and girls out there, you know, let's face it, the men have been running things and they haven't been doing a very good job. And even though some call her dad Darth Vader, and you know we all know about Dick Cheney and what kind of a figure he was, she is coming out maybe to make a play to be runing for president.
Well, she has to win. She's, if I'm not mistaken, in trouble in her own district, potentially, right?
Oh, no, she will probably lose in her own district. So this might be a good alternative for her, Rob, as she takes a look at 2024.
Now, whether that's right or not, looking at the big picture of January 6th, you're bearing in mind the kind of limited powers January 6th has to compel witnesses and so on and so forth to come forward. What's the kind of point of all this? You know, our viewers and listeners, you know, may see that this is all fundamentally about trying to discover whether there was an insurrection or not. And there was a moment, as you just previously described, of the president saying, you know, don't worry about the fact that they've got weapons. Let them in. They're not here to hurt me. Right. Yes. Which is certainly all the evidence that one may need to determine that he, at best, was not worried about the personal risk that these people posed to him. But certainly to the vice president, when the president was aware that these were people that were calling for and suborning the death of the then vice president Mike Pence. You know, you heard Condoleezza Rice. I heard her the other day on The View saying it's time to move on. Just help us with all of this evidence, with everything Cassidy Hutchinson has said. Why is the January 6th hearing so important?
Well, because as I teach in my classes, the 8 things you need to know about delivering a message. One very important one is know your audience. who are you speaking to? Who are you delivering the information to? Who do you want to convince to be on your side? And the audience here are, in my opinion, politically, are the independents and those former Trumpers who say, wait a minute, this is wrong. Mike Pence was a good guy. He shouldn't have been hung. And I didn't like to see the Capitol destroyed like your palace at Westminster. And the other major audience here is Merrick Garland, who is the Attorney General. Right. And they will have to do the prosecuting. The House can bring them in, get all the information out. You know, you've done litigation. Bring the information out. Let's hear it. And let's see what happens. Now, this was a surprise guest on this week. And she was quite remarkable, young lady.
Well, that's a question. I mean, we now have a situation where there is very compelling evidence of what happened on the 6th and the extent of the past President Trump's role. There's also stories of just the general chaos inside the West Wing, you know, some including Ivanka Trump, according to Cassidy Hutchinson, who was trying to tell her dad to stand the crowd down, others that were giving their cowardly, undivided indifference, and then the group of yes men egging him on, so to speak. You know, looking at those three groups, the question is what culpability there will be in the end. I mean, as you just described, it's all very well to have a hearing in Congress, but it doesn't really have any bite, either to prevent Donald Trump running in the next election or for him to be prosecuted criminally. How likely is it that he's going to be prosecuted criminally and that Merrick Garland's going to get involved? At the moment, the AG and the feds have kind of been at arm's length from it.
Well, Trump was derelict in his duty to the Department of Justice, and the other individuals like Cipollone and Ornato, they will have to come and testify. Now, they don't want to be seen because after the images of this young lady and other, really, as you saw all week and last week, some pretty superb witnesses during this entire thing, and many were from the Trump administration, from his own departments, and from the state electorals. And we're going to see they are frightened to death of looking bad. They are frightened to be under oath. And, you know, there's others who asked for pardons. And then Giuliani said he never asked for a pardon and he took down the tweet. I mean, this is I grew up in New York. We remember the Teflon Don, John Gotti. Yeah. And this is the second Teflon Don. And I've seen remarkable criminal stories and criminal investigations. And these guys are using the same tactics. When the president, his buffers, so to speak, using the Godfather term, says, the president's watching everything. And he understands what you're saying, and he wants you to do a good job. God forbid something should happen to your grocery store downtown in the village.
Prof. Jesse, can I just try and Pollyanna this up for a second and just be a little bit optimistic about the past, present, and future of the American Republic. At the moment of the horrors of what were taking place, and it looked like there was an insurrection happening on the 6th, even before that time, you had Betsy DeVos, the then Education Secretary, Bill Barr, obviously the AG at the time, and the Transport Secretary, and near enough, and of course Mike Pence as well, all of whom stood up to Trump. They resigned their positions, blaming Donald Trump for what he was doing. Now, that must represent some, as difficult as it is to think about it in these terms, some courage and at least some, if you like, hope. When you think about, you may have one bad actor, but by and large, those who enter public service in America do devote themselves to the Constitution.
Well, I took the oath myself when I began my first job in the Clinton administration, because I believed what President Kennedy said. He said, I believe politics and public service can be noble professions. And that's what I give them credit for stepping up. And now Bill Barr made it very clear when he said it was basically BS. And Trump called him a fool. He doesn't know anything. I'm surprised he didn't say I never met Bill Barr. I mean, that's his usual term of art.
Yeah, you saw, of course, Trump has been banned from Twitter, but on the platform that he's allowed to use, you saw his reaction to Cassidy Hutchinson. What do you make of that?
Well, he says it all the time. the fact that he said, and I know you saw the tweet, that she's a whack job. Right. I mean, this is New York style. This is what he does. This is what he knows best. This is how he grew up, a mile and a half away from me. He has a reputation. I'm not going to get into the details because I don't want to do that. But he's quite a character. And people like that. And I've always said, you know, they've deified him. And they think they are him. It gets really frightening when they think they are one with Trump. But that's who they are. And maybe the more and more, you know, smart, dedicated American patriots like Miss Hutchinson get out there in front of the cameras. And I think it was a brilliant idea for Benny Thompson to have her. They can see the light. And we hope we do, because we're coming up to our 4th of July weekend. And we hope there's more hope than just, you know, barbecues and beers.
Well, as we said, you know, before, I remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying the symbol of America is not the eagle. We say it many weeks, but the pendulum. When you look at Liz Cheney, when you look at those cabinet members and the last vice president, you look at what they did. Doesn't that sort of demonstrate, as I say, that really America does have hope, that looking forward, this has done perhaps potential you know, limitless enduring injury to Trump running again?
Well, I hope so. And, you know, as you know, I care about my country. I served my country. I believe in America. I'm not going to have now Kate Smith singing "God Bless America" behind me, but I am excited about the possibilities. It's a young country. You know, it was Ben Franklin that said it's a republic if we keep it that way. And I think that's what it has to be. It has to be maintained constantly. It's a constant experiment. Yep. And I think the American people may learn something from this, and I hope they do. And I appreciate you letting me speak to your people, because of your audience is wonderful, and they understand America and what we care about.
Well, they do, and also they know that a love of freedom and a love of constitutional or even Republican democracy has to constantly be renewed, and you put it well as ever. Professor John Christopher Buer, Prof. JC, over there in America for us. You're listening to me live from the Talk Radio studio. This is Rob Rinder on Talk TV.